My name is Nate Jones. I'm a fine artist. I make sculptures, semi-abstract sculptures, and I'm also a tire man.
I go to church each and every Sunday. No, I don't. I just go Monday. I read the good book a time or two. I read it to you. I cut my hair when it is long. I do the same thing just to my mom. It feels me good, it feels me nice. I just want to pass the time with you, with you, with you.
What do I do? I don't know. I guess, it kind of depends on who I'm talking to. Sometimes I remember talking with somebody about how funny it is that we define ourselves by like what our job is. But a lot of times when people ask me, what do you do? I'll tell them like, oh, I'm a fine artist, but I work at a garage with my dad. I pretty much started working there as a job, and it's cool working with my pops. We have a good relationship, so that's a big bonus. But it's a good job. It's like social and everything, and it's where I get, funny enough, it's where I get my material now for making my sculptures and like paintings and odd things. I'm not really like a motorhead. I'm not like super into cars. I like old cars because I feel like they appeal to my artistic side more. And married, have 2 kids, a couple of artists in training. My wife's an art teacher, art history, and now she's getting schooled by our 2 little daughters at home.
I think that the place you have to start when you're talking about Nate's work is the material itself, because it wouldn't be what it is if it weren't for the material. All the different textures and the sizes and the shapes of the different shavings, they all serve a different purpose, which I think is really interesting. And it's not accidental. He very carefully, picks and chooses what he's going to use, and he saves boxes and boxes of the tire shavings, and he'll pull out, boxes full of thick pieces or short pieces or, long and smooth. To use for different purposes.
Like in the ideal world, would I do art like full time? Which I guess I think, yeah, that would be awesome. But then, you've heard the saying, like, be careful what you wish for, you might get it. And I've heard from and talked to people, who, do what they always thought was the most awesome thing, and it ends up becoming a job. So, I'm aware of the fact that, like, if I were to potentially make a go of art 100%, I know it's not really feasible, and B, I wouldn't want to become a job. I would be more bummed having the love for art dry up than I would be having it be like a side thing, that I do when I have the time, and then, have just a regular job. And it's cool being a part of something that, like, my dad built. This is my dad's 52nd year in business. So he started it when he was just a youngster. So yeah, that was in '67. And so we've been in this location for like 5 years. And I've been working here like on and off since high school and full time since like after college. So a little chunk of time for me.
When I found out that his family had a business in tires, And I realized that that's what his sculptures and his art objects were made of. It just blew my mind. To see how creative and resourceful someone can be and make something that you wouldn't even imagine could be made from these types of material, you know? To really have it be a personal thing for Nate, because his life is so intertwined in this tire shop, you know, in his family's business. But to see that, you know, that's not stopping him from wanting to voice his artistic and creative expression.
Whoever else may or may not be doing something using tire shavings as their medium, they don't have a connection to the medium the way that Nate does. Because he, like, this is from his own, like, blood and sweat. You know, that this is a byproduct of his day job. This is, like, the material that he interacts with every single day as part of his job. And he knows it in a way that someone else wouldn't know it if they just went and, you know, let me search Craigslist for boxes of discarded tire shavings, you know, and then I'm going to use that to make some sculptures that look like things. That's not what he does. So if someone else is doing it, that's great, and, you know, go have fun with that. But for Nate, it's, you know, he has a connection to it in a way that nobody else would. Once he started using the tire shavings as his medium, I think then he felt completely free and just, like, completely fell into it, and that was it.
I've been working on this series for several years now, where it's like carcasses like you would find in a butcher shop or a slaughterhouse, and it's really mostly just the carcass idea works really well with this medium, and that's kind of partly how I got into using it. Was it just the material reminded me, like, initially of, like, entrails, you know? I mean, you grab it and it just kind of looks, you know, like guts or something, and when you see it heaped up, it just kind of looks like the form of it looks sort of bodily. This is the one that I've been working on most recently. I don't really have a name for it yet, but it's basically like a half or a 3/4 skinned carcass. This right here and these tall skinny pieces here were all pieces in a series that I did that were based on customers from our shop, and they're all like abstract portraits basically, and I displayed them like on a big grass what do you call that, like a quad at a school. It makes me laugh because I feel like they're like my kids that my wife and I keep, you know, procreating, making these sculptures, or I'm making them. And they're not leaving the house. Nobody's buying them, so they're just like living at home here, taking up my space. I need them to like go out and, like, you know, earn a living, which would be getting sold. I usually start the ideas for these meat pieces as like a quick watercolor. You know, it's like faster, and it would just kind of be like a quick sketch out, you know, get the feeling down. And they started as just purely like sketches, and then I realized, like, oh, these are actually kind of happening. So I started to treat them a little bit better. So then I have a watercolor, then I made this actual piece, and then I started making an oil painting of the sculpture. So they're like, it's become really self-referential too. Like, I, you know, just kind of keep bouncing back and forth, and I don't know, I guess I enjoy that.
I enjoy the sculptures. They're pretty cool. So yeah, at first I was just like, oh, that just looks disgusting. What is that? Like a giant pancreas of like a whale pancreas? Like, I don't know if whales have a pancreas. They probably don't. But anyway, just some kind of organ.
It's kind of witty and comical and sort of absurd and sometimes kind of grotesque, which is all really fun. if you know what it is. You know, giant carcasses.